Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Mystic Train Wreck podcast. This is your host, Rob Rahandolph, coming to you live from Portland, Oregon. Over there is Dr. Chris Lee,
Hello.
no longer employed by the university system, detached from the teat, so to speak. And we also have the Star Witch, Crass Joy.
Mhm.
I'm going to put the Star Witch,
The
the underlined.
oh, I can't. Oh, okay.
Yeah, can we continue?
Edgelord, that's perfect.
It's pronounced adage.
Oh, it's Adage Lord.
Yeah.
Was that in the chat? I didn't see it. Oh,
Hello.
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 If the internet was the mycelium of the metaspace, what would be the fruit?
What would be the fruit?
What are the mushrooms of the internet?
And we said memes.
I think memes. Right? Like what do mushrooms do for the mycelium, right? They
Yeah.
act as reproductive organs.
Mm-hmm.
So they're responsible for transmitting the data further and expanding the reach of what the internet or what the mycelium can cover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh,
They taste good.
Sure. Yeah. So
They're guaranteed for intelligent creatures to pick them and ponder them and perhaps get. I mean, I'm just gonna say it. Memes are consciousness expanding. They just are.
they demonstrate the way consciousness has expanded.
Yeah, and can teach, right, and like connect you with that, right?
are they mushrooms or are those crystals? Because I feel like they grow like crystals, right? And then
Memes are not crystals, that's for sure. They
no.
are hypermutant, hypermutated.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's the thing about them that's interesting about the internet though, which is I before the internet, I would have said yes. After the internet, we get a lot of crystallized memes that you can go back to and look at.
Classic.
That didn't used to be the case.
Okay, if the mushroom is the fruit, though, like what the
Petrified, let's say, maybe petrified memes.
Petrified might be a better word to describe what you were just saying, I think. Crystal has an internal structure, right? The like when you break a quartz crystal, it's gonna look like a hexagonal crystal. It has a regular internal atomic structure, right? That has a very set vibrational energy, no matter how it's propagated. And I think I go with crass. That's kind of like they just chaotically spin out. But you're right, Rob. They're just some petrified memes that are. I don't know. Is Akbar petrified at this point?
I think,
But
I mean, yeah, right.
because there's a historical record of him. Is that kind of what you're?
Yeah, but it's also there's a cultural consciousness record.
Yes. I mean, there's a whole website, Know Your Meme, right, that tries to trace all of that down.
Yeah.
So yeah, in that sense, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, I think this is confirmed because even
Yeah.
meme and gene, it's
Mhm.
the reproductive function.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I share more memes than I do my feelings with people.
Oh my God, I'm so old school. I went through a meme phase, but I'm like, just like, I'm happy with emojis. I'm so like meta vanilla. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean, memes have power, right? They have there's meme sorcery. We saw that for sure in politics, right? There's
yeah.
boy, if you want to create a reality with memes,
You can.
you
Highly,
really can. It's very accessible.
yeah, yeah. Now it's accessible because the bullhorn is of arbitrary size,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't used to be. It used to be when you had to go into a place where a bunch of people were, and you had to risk getting your ass kicked
Yeah, and you had
or
to
locked up, right? Take your pick. I mean,
yeah, or and then there's prejudice, right? You walk in looking like a prophet that spent 40 days in the desert and you talk about non-duality, and you're going to get crucified or something. I don't know what might happen to you.
yeah, yeah. They would definitely crucify you, probably.
Man, someone should write a book about that.
Yeah,
Like
I
many.
wouldn't buy it probably.
No.
No,
I'd
would
probably
you?
be like, nah, this is full of holes. Anywho, what was I saying up till that point? I don't remember.
I
Go
think
ahead.
we were talking about memes. They are reproductive
Definitely reproductive,
Budding fruit of
and
the internet.
cutting fruit of the internet.
yeah. Well, wrapped that one up.
Snap, snoop.
Now what do we talk about?
Well,
What
it
is
is.
the body?
Yeah.
What is the body? Like I know what that is. I'm talking about mushrooms now. What the hell is the body? The mycelium? If the mushroom is the budding fruit that just like appears out of the ground, but like it's just this blanket, it's just this field, it's this organic field. I would just want to describe it for a little bit. Just want
It's
to
the
Mm-hmm.
horizon.
give it some space. Give it some
I,
space. The horizon?
The
What?
horizon.
yeah.
What?
You said give us some space. What else?
Horizon is anti-space. The horizon is what is the opposition of space.
No, it's a container of space,
Sure. Yeah.
Hmm.
which is a kind of opposite.
Yeah, I mean there are two different usages of space there. It's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a pre-Euclidean and a post-Euclidean one, or a pre-Descartian even and a post-Descartian one there. Really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Levin, who Rob is now familiar with, I think, he's a biologist who's talked about the electric face, right?
Oh
We
yeah,
talked
yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah. The frog thing.
Boy, he's been going on a podcast tear and has sure got me. And I'm getting around to what I think about that, what the body is.
Mm.
What is my body? I don't even know if I'm sure about that anymore. So if I think about how one cell has the intelligence to become a human, and about experiments that they do with electricity where certain cells decide, well, hell, I'm going to be the eye. And all the other cells are like, well, we'll help you be the eye then. But before that, none of these cells were differentiated.
Mm-hmm.
I really do have to wonder what my body is other than a distributed intelligence. And therefore, I believe that the body of the mushroom is the planet.
Straight up.
It's the distributed intelligence that supports that network.
The whole thing. I love
Yeah.
it.
It's not other than that.
It's not, yeah, you're not wrong. You cannot.
Yeah. It's at least that. It's at least that. I mean, the more we learn about how trees communicate with each other using the mycelial networks.
Even if it is a spore from space.
Well, how is it not from space?
Oh, exactly. Okay, so even if its origin is from space, the body of it is the planet.
But if it originated here, its origin is still space.
Okay.
That's a third use of space. We're really cracking them out here. Outer space now.
Almost as versatile as fuck.
Space is incredible. Yeah. Even if it came from space, yeah, I mean, I think especially if it came from space, then it was what created the planet in a lot of ways, isn't it? I mean, look what we're doing. I mean, we're more fungal than we are vegetative, really, and we've really transformed this place.
We're the budding fruit of the internet.
Ooh, that's uncomfortable.
Actually, I believe my first answer was these nuts. Was the
Yes,
Yeah,
that's true.
yeah, no, straight.
Which is a meme, right?
Which is it's the folk way of saying that, like the scientific way of saying D's nuts is, is it's memes, and the folk way of saying memes is D's nuts.
Recently, the memes that have really got me going are old paintings with kind of modern text balloon captions on them.
Mhm.
You know, turning the most mundane situation into something hilarious because of the way you looked at a painting and saw, does that guy look like he just, or doesn't that look like Jerry Seinfeld telling a joke, or, whatever. But I just think they're so connective because their very existence relies on there being a consensus, like a load-bearing consensus. There has to be a consensus of reality supporting this meme. It doesn't even have to be real, right? Like we saw with the elections and subsequent pretty much everything's. They're really fascinating at how they actually create reality.
Well, they're symbol vocabularies, right?
Yeah.
So symbol vocabularies create reality forever.
Yes, they're the new language, really.
Mm-hmm. Because they're really semantically and semiotically dense.
Whew, yeah. They rely on that cultural heritage.
Right. We're getting back to hieroglyphics. We'll get there once all the memes congeal for our particular epoch.
Oh my God. I bet you could make a hieroglyph of just that one cat from the two women yelling at the cat.
Yeah.
And you could communicate all sorts of things just with that.
See? It's right there. That'll distill to a thing that scribes can write, and then there will be new scribes, and then they will dictate what happens.
So that would mean that hieroglyphics are actually an ancient language rather than a newly formed one.
Both are true.
Yeah. Now we're stepping on some younger Dryas toes, though, I think people.
But that's where it just looks like that's how it will develop, right? Like we have a certain vocabulary, a symbolic vocabulary. Like, we got the cross, the star and crescent, Star of David, all that stuff.
Yeah.
The moon, like all these symbolic vocabulary bits that we have mean certain things to us. We got the astrology signs, chemical signs.
Languages upon languages.
Languages upon languages. And then we got these really hyper dense ones. Two girls and a cat.
Yeah.
Right?
That's even
so much more
evocative,
more evocative to our mind than the Jupiter symbol, for example, for most of us.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll see the Jupiter symbol and people like us will go, oh, that thing.
Yeah.
Most people will just go like, this cross with the curvy bit. But they will go, oh, the two girls with the cat thing. Got you.
Yes.
Drake. Yes, no.
You know, that's really interesting because meme templates.
Mm-hmm.
What what role do they serve? Because you can take a meme, they're like an archetype. Like a meme template is like an archetype.
Right.
Yeah.
Squiggly
Be-
line,
Yeah.
bird.
Yeah, because you can plug that into a social situation
Mm-hmm.
with enough analogies and it'll connect with someone.
Yeah. Fry doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
Or shut up and take my money.
Any situation involving like some product or, anything. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
What are the most widely distributable meme templates?
I'm
Why?
sure they know. That's just a data lookup somewhere.
Probably.
That really is. It's like whoever, if you congeal all like the Know Your Meme, like all those guys that have been running those things for the last what 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, something like that. We'll get a number.
Yeah.
You can differentiate the number, and we'll find out which ones. But really, it comes down to what's the most recognizable.
Do you think that's the question they asked Deep Thoughts or whatever in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Remember how they forgot the question because it took so damn long?
Well, the meme answer is 42.
That's what I'm wondering, right? Like, yeah, that's the computation. No spoilers.
It was memed to be so, thus it is.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's really
Oh.
amazing.
there are meme conspiracies.
And that 42 came from other shit. That's way cool.
Well, we're not, yeah, we start measuring hearts and feathers and 42 judges, and you want to talk hieroglyphics.
Douglas Adams was no fool.
No. With the hieroglyphics thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Archaeology would assume that this is the burgeoning language of a primitive culture that's just learning how to take complicated thoughts and write them down, but they look at the simplicity of the hieroglyphics and they assume that the thoughts are not complicated.
Right.
There's a cultural bias implicit, right, in archaeology, even from that perspective, in some sense.
I wouldn't even say it's cultural bias. I would say it's an ignorance of design.
Yeah, okay, well.
Because simple design is
Mhm.
hard and takes a long time.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's an archaeology good dude, like not cluing in, his never having designed something that people use.
Yeah.
And it never had to make it simple, right? Like they just
That's a good point. Marketing people could tell them something.
yeah. Yeah.
What do you think that the majority of people using those memes today would be described as a primitive, uncivilized culture?
It depends how much Fago's in it.
Well, I mean,
that's just a rib to the ice.
Yeah, but the capacity for thought, really, I don't know. We do have a pretty compelling argument that we have some creative capacity for thought.
I wouldn't take that capacity away from our ancestors.
Right. I think that's kind of what I'm saying archaeology's perspective might be doing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you said that very well.
Yeah.
The body is the planet. Undifferentiated. What were you saying? Undifferentiated.
Oh, you can take these undifferentiated cells and apparently what happens is a little bit of electricity comes in. And if it's a tadpole, if you measure the electric potential in the undifferentiated cells, they noticed it looked like a frog face. And they thought, oh, that's funny, right? Wow, what a coincidence. And then they did it over and over because they're scientists, right? They did it over and over and over and over. And it turns out these cells, they just get electrically stimulated somehow. Somehow, there's potential differences going across membranes here. And they start to look like a face, and then it turns into a face.
Yes. Yeah, I remember seeing this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it electricity or precursor waves?
It's with our flawed understanding of electricity, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I was gonna say, how could it not be both? All of the above.
That's just
Yeah.
What if that's just what electricity is? I mean, we're electrical, right?
We certainly very much are.
We have an electrical charge that basically happened to our perspective just a little bit before now.
Yes.
Constantly, right?
But it was also the result of a bunch of electric charges that compelled individual cells to respond intelligently,
Habitually,
in a trained way.
in a trained way.
And they want to do their job.
Yep.
You gotta think, like, it's good that these cells continue to want to do their job, because if this is just a process of undifferentiated cells becoming specialists, which as above so below, how does that not look like a human society, right? If it's just undifferentiated cells turning into these roles, and we can see how these roles are working with all their little machines and all their little tools, and right?
Yep.
Mitochondria and all that's kind of cool stuff.
I had this thought last night. I was just breathing and telling my limbs like, yo, I trust you, take care of it.
Yeah.
The things you need to do. I'm just going to keep breathing and make sure the blood gets to where it needs to go.
Yeah. They want to be limb shaped.
That's how society should probably work. Like, you let people be autonomous, like your limbs, and then you just make sure as the leader, whatever that is, the thing that's controlling the flow of the blood and breath, you just make sure that keeps happening. And then let everything else happen. I think that would be somewhat of an optimal system of governance.
Yeah, it's very much like the benevolent dictator.
Yeah, except he's not dictating anything. He's just making sure the flow is maintained.
Yeah, he's like the Taoist benevolent dictator is lost in his navel.
Yeah, but at the same time, all the other stuff around the body, like, it's still like, my organs are functioning pretty good right now.
Right.
I'm definitely not in control of that. I appear to be in control of my limbs, but I know from my muscle spasms that that's not fucking the case. So this is happening autonomously. The more I expect it, the more it's all autonomous. And if I stop breathing to think about it, well, it gets pissed off.
Yeah, it really likes that oxygen.
Yeah, it likes that, and it likes the blood too. If I cut off the blood to someplace, it really doesn't appreciate that very much.
Seriously, just as I'm like, oh my knees.
So I feel like as a perhaps a attitude towards governance, that's the attitude I'd like to see in a leader. Just like, yo, I believe you guys can do this. And then also you have to sort of like maintain just a soft vigilance to make sure they are actually doing what's optimal for the whole, and not, doing something.
It's so difficult, right? Because as soon as the need to do that arises, it's the corruption.
Right. And you
the pure uncorrupt will work as the unity. And as soon as there's corruption, you get the Big Bang, right? You get the whole damn universe again.
Yeah, but that's part of it. And so you just accept the corruption as part of the whole and be like, no, it's okay. It's fine like that. It's fine.
We'll get it.
Don't worry about it.
Yes.
There you go.
The
Oh,
Tao of leadership. Nice.
The corruption is not all right.
corruption has to be all right. It's part of reality. So
It has to be all right now.
it's okay that it's here. It's not a big deal. It's like yeah, it's fine. Let's not try and do that so much, but like don't force it. People gotta involuntarily uncorrupt themselves because you force it, just turns
Yeah.
into a
Yeah.
fucking bloodbath. So you just gotta give people like just give them the proper communication, the proper electrical signals, and they'll be like, oh, actually, I want to go voluntarily do this
Yeah.
service. And then you can just be like, okay, cool. I'll make sure you get enough blood money to keep
Yeah.
living, right? And then you can go voluntarily do the thing you want to do that contributes. And then if you're doing something that doesn't contribute, that's really like selfish and like probably self-destructive, then maybe some of us will intervene and be like, yo, we're going to cut off your blood for a little bit until you realize that this shit is really bad for all of us. And then once you realize that we're all connected again, then we're going to restart the flow, but we're not going to kick you out.
Do you think from Cell's perspective, this is all going on like that? Like they visualize themselves as these individuals and they have these wars and they cut off parts of the body and they have,
I can't imagine that doesn't happen. I definitely
right?
feel tension in my body that I can't explain for any other reason.
I can't imagine that doesn't happen, but I'm very skeptical that that's the case.
If I'm just conveying electrical impulses with my mouth and you're understanding them with your ears, what's the difference between two cells communicating with electrical? I mean,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
it's scale.
I mean, I feel their experience. I feel.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Right? Like implicit in all of this is that every cell has the potential to be a neuron. That your neurons aren't special.
right.
There's just so many implications. This guy's been on a tear, but there's so many implications, and this is so counter biological that I was taught. It's just evolutionarily different. It doesn't respond to pressure from the outside. It's right. It's coming from inside. That's what Rob's describing. If you don't talk about pressuring from the outside to mold something, evolution isn't molding, right?
I'm saying the inner and the outer aren't differentiated.
Yeah.
It's a false dichotomy.
And that gets us back to what is my body? What is a body, right?
Perspective, a habituated perspective.
Yeah, I do feel like a lot of these things are
Function.
idealized fast and leave. It's the communism curse. In practice, it sucks. On paper, it's the greatest.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I mean, there's 100 ways that any given sympathizer of Marx's ideas would go at that, right?
Hmm.
Mine is just that gosh darn corruption.
Well,
It's
that's what
hard.
I don't even know what we're talking about when we say corruption.
I
I
just
did the first few times we said corruption, and now I have no idea.
I reckon it's pretty much differentiating oneself from anything else, right? If you really want to get down to like what is the base corruption, it's recognition of a self.
Interesting. Interesting.
I would have
Because that is the only obstacle to complete unity, right? If you want to talk about if the idealized hermetic consciousness, right, is the unified human whatever experience,
well,
then any feeling of individuality is counter to that unity. Anything that you see that you can differentiate yourself from what's going on around you, like that's like the basic, I think, religious corruption, spiritual corruption.
Well, I think some people experience a kind of divine separateness, and that's okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying this is what I use the word as, in terms of the unity philosophies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not making a judgment about what's great or not. I mean, I'm having a grand time about all this, honestly. So
I feel like there has to be more, Chris. I feel like there has to be more.
I did too for a long time. I don't know. I hope so. If you find it, let me know.
No, I mean like a little, just a little deeper than just being a self. I feel like there's more than that because I feel like that's also very good.
Well, again, I don't pass any judgment on the word corruption itself. I just mean it as any obstacle to the unity, right? If you want to talk about
Okay, that
unified consciousness depends on the lack of an individual notion of self for any constituent part.
yeah.
Just like the way you think your body works really kind of depends on the fact that there can't be rogue neurons, right, that turn into, well, cancer. I mean, that's not good. They just decide what they want to do. But that, I really mean it in that extreme, because as a definition, I really, want to try to cut down any other implications. I really do mean anything that separates one from unity.
All right, back to a more literal definition and you lose me, but then an obstacle to unity and you have me 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so sensitive. I've been feeling the Pisces cry baby all week.
Oh, it's good though. You're supposed to be sensitive,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
The
well,
point of the corruption is that we're here to roll around in it like pigs. That's why we're experiencing
No mud, no lotus, they say.
it. No one said that, but they will
yeah,
now.
that's a thing. That's a thing.
Good thing.
That's a simplification of a proverb for sure. Yeah.
It's a meme.
It's a meme.
Mem. Someone tried to convince me once it's pronounced meme. I'm like, no, that's a meme. Okay.
You should make a GIF about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good thing
JK.
that guy died. Otherwise, we'd have to call it GIF all the time.
Yeah, it
It's
wouldn't
not
work.
GIF.
It's not Jif. Jif is the creamy peanut butter. That's super. That's like that. It's seriously my favorite brand. I don't know
Oh
why.
my gosh, I opened it to Unity, so now I have to read it to you. Tao cannot be defined. One can only say that it is the single principle responsible for every event or thing. When the leader has regard for this principle and for no lesser theories, the group members trust the leader. Because the leader pays equal attention to everything that happens, there are no prejudices to divide the group into fractions. This is unity. There is unity. Big difference. Because the group work is grounded in an obvious and natural righteousness, rules and regulations are not needed to make people behave. Even though the single principle cannot be defined, it is possible to explain what is happening in a group. We speak of gestalt formation, of polarities, of flows and blocks, of interventions that either hinder or facilitate, and so on. But too much theoretical talk distracts the group from what is happening, the process itself. Talking about process is one way to block process and lower the energy of the group field.
Mhm.
When that
man.
happens,
Oh, go ahead.
That last sentence. Go, no,
it's
or that one. Go, go,
2
go,
seconds left.
go.
When that happens, the wise leader returns once again to an awareness of what is happening and to the single principle that lies behind what is happening. In the long run, focusing on this single principle is the most potent aspect of leadership. From this unity, we learn how things happen.
Mhm.
Wow. What was that sentence again?
Yeah, the
That blew my mind.
But too much theoretical talk distracts the group from what is happening, from the process itself. Talking about the process is one way to block process and lower the energy field up and lower the energy of the group field.
That's exactly why I left my previous podcast about
That's
game
exactly
design.
why I left my job.
Yeah.
That's exactly why I'm here.
Yeah. So, wow, I'm glad you opened it to that page.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there is a lesson there that a lot of people need to hear about talking about the process. I understand being strategic. That makes sense, right? Being strategic keeps your body alive, right? Your cells are strategically doing things. But if they had to have meetings about how to deal with every situation because they aren't trusted to deal with a situation, then you'll probably quit breathing.
At some point, I've had that experience. So
Ugh.
yeah, when my mind gets into a fucking battle with itself and it can't decide on something, I hold my breath.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
That's 100% true.
Mm-hmm.
And that will fucking kill you.
Passively.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Although
Oh,
you can also
man.
train yourself to exhale so completely that your body just kind of, and you let go, and then you can only be, you can no longer think.
Man. That understanding of that sentence by the human beings that I have intersected with in my life
Mm.
would have radically changed my experience on this planet.
Mm.
Mhm.
I figure that speaks to the root of all the kind of authority, like the authority issues that you could come up with based on being an obstinate little motherfucker, Huh. We should pour that into the water supply.
It would help City Hall, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
So that sounds like we're done.
yeah. That's a really good way to end that. Yeah. Oh my God.
Well, everybody, thanks for listening to my favorite episode yet of the Mystic
Yeah,
Trainer.
me too. Woo.
Ooh.
Have a good night, and keep trying to not be stuff.
Bye.
Bye.